It's another double feature, everyone. That's right, we are back talking two movies in one video. Have you heard of such a concept? I'm going on vacation, so I'm trying to catch up on a couple of movies this week, just so I can have something out there. And I watched two of them. Both of them I saw in theaters. One of them is streaming exclusively on Apple and has a limited run in cinemas. I wonder if it's going to cinemas because they want to do a push for Eve Lucen. I don't know. Very interesting. Who's to say? But we have Gareth Edwards, the creator, the biggest blockbuster you're probably not watching, and Joe Carney's Flora and Son. Let's start with the creator. This one I think has more eyes on it just because it is like a bigger theatrical release. It has a budget of $80 million, probably. Who knows for sure? And in the press junkets, that's just Gareth Edwards. He has said openly that this was filmed on a very small budgeted camera. Sony FX3, I believe something to X3, Sony X3 something. You could go to your local Best Buy and probably find like the cheaper version of the camera that he filmed it on. And yeah, that's kind of exciting. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the creator. Small budget, independent blockbuster, filmed on a very interesting camera that you could probably obtain easily. And it's talking about artificial intelligence. These are all very interesting things to deal with, especially in like today's landscape. A lot of today's stuff is AI based. There's the argument about the art towards it all. And just having like a filmmaker actively want to talk about that and show a story in that world is very interesting. I kind of respect Edwards for being like, no, I'll be the guy that does it. Like you're not going to do it effectively. And I think what he does better than anyone else that would have maybe attempted this was show us the humanity of these AI. Like, we don't pretend that there's something different than just a counterpart to humanity. They are right there with them. And that's really cool. Now, this movie, I'll be the first to admit, I don't know if it's the best blockbuster of the year. I did walk away feeling very positive about it. Like, just the overall feeling is, oh yeah, this is really nice. Like, the script's okay, and some of the elements don't work perfectly, and it does feel kind of long, but the impact works really well. Every time it's trying to be authentically effective, it is effective. You feel for the characters, you feel for the worlds, you understand, like, why society hates everything it's doing and how this, like, future came to be. I think you buy that 100% of the time. It never feels inauthentic. You get that this society sucks. And it really does. This is a future where in Los Angeles a bomb went off because artificial intelligence let it happen. And now America is at war with AI. If you know Gareth Edwards, he has a very specific style that you've seen in a lot of his work. The elements of Rogue One that he did, the elements of his Godzilla. The dude likes big scale, big intensity, angry military. And I get it. Like, I know what he's doing. He seems like a dude that very much has something to say about the military service and how it is one of the like most funded organizations in the US. And he's not American though, is he? I can't remember. But he's got a lot to say. And the thing, like, one of my biggest takeaways from this movie was, oh yeah, we're still doing Vietnam stuff. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. Like, it's one of the most talked about and graphic wars in history. So when a filmmaker has their story to tell about war aping off of Vietnam, that makes sense and it works. And you feel it a lot just like in kind of like the guerrilla jungle that we're a part of, with just these American soldiers with advanced technologies killing a bunch of innocent civilians in like a foreign land. You feel that no matter what. But what Gareth's does well is just the pacing of that and the scale of that. And it's all these tricks that are done in camera. Like, that's the visual effect. That's what we're doing here. But even if you just took out like the big tank running through, the big ship in the sky, you get the sense that this world is intimate and it's small. And everything feels like it's going to break at a moment's notice. And that's like a really cool feeling to see for this type of story. It just made it feel a little bit more like earnest than a lot of other blockbusters do. The effects look great. I don't know like the type of aspect ratio or the quality of the camera that this was filmed on. I know it wasn't filmed on an IMAX camera, and I know it wasn't filmed on like a big camera, but there's just like the tightest little hint of different like uses of natural lighting and film grain that I appreciate. Like, I don't know if maybe it was just like the IMAX screen I saw this on that like that projecting the level of quality of the camera that was used gave it that grainy quality, but it just looked more naturalistic and classic than a lot of other films we're seeing that are big modern blockbusters. And it's amazing what this movie could do with a smaller budget than some of the top tier films out there. Because everything looked great. Everything was in focus. Everything had scale and weight to it, and that's a really cool thing to see. Every character that was a robot, an AI at any level, it's really good and really powerful to see that. Where this movie doesn't work all the time is with a script that's just kind of whatever. It's not the best script out there, not that it needs to be, but you feel the weight of like, oh, this is a scene to explain what needs to happen. This is just like us telling what's going to be talked about here. Okay, I get that. I can move past that if you're giving me a really good story about like the American need for, destruction, the urban destruction of society because an aggressor is challenging them. That's a really interesting take, and there was a great use of that in this movie. And it does feel long. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes. There do come points where I felt myself like, oh, we got 30 more minutes left of this thing. Like, we kind of did wrap up the emotional arcs, but I guess, like, we do need a victory end. And, like, I say that, right? I'm saying that, but the last 20 minutes of this movie have more, like, impact and weight to them than any other modern blockbuster. The only ones I think come close this year have been the stuff with Rhea Perlman and Margot Robbie in Barbie, like that finale, and the Dog Days Are Over in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like, those are the only other two movies with almost quadruple the budget sometimes that made it work. And this one, like, the last 20 minutes are just love and care and the downfall of oppression and society coming together to rejoice in something. It's very Star Wars in that way, and you understand why he got the Rogue One job. It's very Andor in that way. And you're like, this is really cool, and I appreciate that so much. And John David Washington is a fucking movie star. He is his father's son. My goodness, does he just have charisma? I liked him in a lot of stuff, but this is just him showing like, yeah, I can do this thing that I may never get to do again, because he carries the jokes well, he carries the emotional weight well. Him and Gemma Chan have great chemistry. You buy them together so much. They're so pleasant and cool together. And that little girl that plays Alfie, a phenomenal performance. Just like, that is hard to sell. The emotional distance of not being like real, but also having the idea of like what life is supposed to be and how you're supposed to feel. Hard for a child to portray, and she does it great. It's really fantastic, and all the supporting cast is cool. There's nothing that looks like this out right now. And that's like one of the biggest selling points to me, is just walking into this movie and seeing something that looks so unique, that looks so of a time that we don't really play with anymore. And that's such a unique thing for the story. You get the tropes, you see them coming a mile away, you can predict the actual beats of this story well, but that doesn't matter. I know how a comedy works, and if I can predict that, I'm still going to laugh at some of the jokes if they work. That's how I feel about The Creator. The story it's telling, it's simple, it's tropey, you've seen it before, but it's doing it in a way that I appreciate and is holding itself together pretty well. That's really cool, you know? Not every movie gets to do that. Not every movie can do that, but The Creator did a fine job at that too. The sad part is this isn't going to be like the genre exercise that changes the landscape of cinema to being more closed, budgeted, just like under 100 and just like cheaper effects and cameras and stuff. Because I don't see anybody talking about it. And leaving the theater, I heard some older audience members being like, so much for the best movie of the year. I'm like, no, it's not the best movie of the year. It's the most like well thought out blockbuster of the year, because you can clearly see the homages, you can clearly see the inspiration, and it feels like a real movie, which is not something we see all the time anymore in these big blockbusters. So, Gareth Edwards, The Creator, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. Now let's move over to Flora and Son. This is the new release from Joe Carney. He has previously worked on Sing Street, which I have sang the praises of, no pun intended, on this channel before. A really clever movie that's really fun and heartfelt. And now his latest one is coming directly to Apple, limited release in theaters. You can watch it now on Apple TV if you have it. And I was pleasantly surprised by this. I don't know what to expect with him. Once was okay. I didn't love it as much as Sing Street. And I kind of want to feel like, maybe I don't like today's music enough to really gravitate to telling a story about today's music. So how am I going to feel about Flora and Son? I'm feeling really positive. It's not a game changer. It's not anything but kind of just like a simple, hokey love story with some comedic stuff set in the Irish lifestyle, But that works for me. I love that stuff. I love the feeling of that. It's just so like aggressive but wholesome at the same time, where everyone kind of like hates each other, but they secretly love each other. I just dig that vibe. And just talking about like making music and how you can build upon music. That's like a really cool thing to explore. And this movie does it pretty good. So this is about Flora. She is a single mother raising a bratty son. And she wants to do something nice for him to keep him out of trouble. So she gets him a guitar. He's like, screw that, Mom. I'd rather make like dubstep music. Not even dubstep music. See where my reference of today's music is? Just kind of like that modern day rap artist, TikTok generation music. He'd rather do that, just get like a synthesizer, plug it into his laptop, and just make beats, right? So she takes up guitar lessons from like an American man she met online, and they slowly start to build a connection and help each other out of their shells, both her and her son and the instructor played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Great chemistry for everybody. You believe it completely. Eve Lucen, not too familiar with her work. She is the daughter of a famous singer, so of course her working on a movie about music makes sense. She's got a great voice. She's got a great personality. She looks pretty damn hot too. Like every time she's on screen, just looking angry and upset and tired. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And then when she's trying to be like flirty, I'm like, yeah, I buy it. I would instantly fall in love with this woman too. So I get everything that happens in this movie, and she's doing sweet. She's doing a really great job. There's every single range of emotion that she can play. She gets upset. She gets saddened. It all works really well. Jack Rayner, another Joe Carney regular, does show up in a supporting role. Carries it well. Very different. Like you could do like almost a whole spin-off of just this man who was supposed to be something and he never got the chance to be it, and then seeing his ex-wife and his son succeed in like the thing he never could. There's so much to delve into there. And they do it a little bit, and I kind of like that. And the young son is very interesting. Like, it's such like a modern kid, just disassociated with the world, kind of like into one specific person that you want to emulate and become, and then turning like your own work into something practical that you enjoy. Like, it works well. Like that's kind of cool. And being somebody who doesn't really understand how modern music is made, I'm just like, yeah, you get an acoustic guitar and you like sing, Anyway, here's Wonderwall. I don't know how you make stuff on a laptop with GarageBand or whatever the kids are using these days. So just seeing that element, that was kind of cool. But being who I am from a generation in between these two, the son and the mother. So I more gravitate to the 30-something woman who is hitting on Joseph Gordon-Levitt through a computer because he's just talking about like the art of music and lyrics and what it means and how music is supposed to be about these things that mean something to you and how everything's just kind of hokey. And yeah, it's a little cheesy, but I like cheese. I like some good cheese on a sandwich. And that's what this was, We just do like a whole scene where it's like, yeah, You're Beautiful by James Blunt, a song I like. He's like, no, it's bad. It's tacky. It sucks. Shouldn't like it. It's not about anything. No woman just wants to hear You're Beautiful. You want to have some emotion into that, not just like praise. And of course, Eve's like, you obviously don't understand women. I'm like, that's funny and it's true. And then every time they get like the intimate connection, we lose the computer, lose the sense of reality, and JGL's just there. And it's beautiful and it's romantic and it's heartfelt. And it goes to some very personal, intimate places, which is really cool to see. I like this type of movie a lot. And every time it succeeds, It makes me happy. We don't get a lot of them anymore, but I do want to see more like this. It's just, here's some intimate, cool stuff with some great actors. Eve's going to be on my radar. Whatever she's going to be in now, I'm very curious because she's kind of talented and cool. I want to see what she's capable of. But this type of movie, I dig it. I like stuff about music. I like seeing people fall in love. I like problems being resolved naturally. And just a mother trying. I love a mother who's trying. I love a parent that's trying to help their kids. It's such like an easy cliche, but it works so well because we all understand it and relate to it. It's cool. I don't know. I like it. I don't know if it's on Sing Street level for me, but this is a pretty strong outing with people that I'm genuinely curious to see what they're going to do next. It's kind of cool. It's a nice feeling to have, you know? We don't get it all the time anymore. So, Flora and Son, I am going to give a 9 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this double feature. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.